Sweet. Well, welcome back. Might be a shorter pod today.
Yeah.
We're a little packed for time. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, yeah, man, I was watching your pod. How short is Mike? They were like, in one episode, you look just huge compared to him. I was like, well, generally speaking, I am larger than most people. But yeah, so how tall are you?
5'5", that'd be like a very good day with good hair.
Okay, yeah.
Probably a solid 5'4".
I gave you. I think I said 5'6". I wasn't sure. I rounded up. I rounded up.
It's
yeah.
like Subway sandwich.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we passed 700 subscribers. Thank you,
Huge.
guys. And so I made a post. I said, hey, 700 subscribers. Anything you want us to talk about? You know, we want to fish and see what ideas you guys have. So I got some questions from the audience.
Sweet.
We'll just bang them out. And if we have time, we'll go into some other topics. First question, I said it's a sore subject, but the people want to know HQ update. They said publicly, I responded to them, I said sore subject, but I'll ask. So
yeah, tomorrow actually the local team's going to go have to weed whack a bunch of stuff there because they found wetlands on the neighbor's property.
Yep.
Whose setbacks are going to impact our building.
Yeah.
So it's just a one fiasco after the next. We just live in a very tree-hugging area. And so
no, Washington State.
We're gonna try to like weed whack everything down that I mowed a couple years ago, or like a year ago, just to make it look better for the wetlands inspection. So they'll get done tomorrow.
Projected timeline,
dude. I've been saying next year for a very long time. But like literally, I would say it could be like in 2 weeks. I could get a notice. It could also be 6 months, and either one of those would not surprise me at this point. So
there's the HQ update.
Yeah.
Sore subject, everyone, but I asked.
It'll go fast, dude. Once we break ground, it'll go really fast. We have all the supplies, everything's lined up, but we just need the permit.
Because it's just a steel structured like pole building.
Yeah, we have all the material.
Yeah.
Like literally, I don't know if you saw the email I sent over to the office. I was like, hey, we need to like weed whack around all the materials because we have like massive beams and like sheets of metal everywhere.
Yeah.
So
and joists and things. So building. Okay. Well, there's your HQ update. Here's one. I'm going to read it verbatim, but you can look at it too if you want. When did Mike go from blindly building a business that was working with the first location, or did he just have an immense vision of thousands of locations from near the beginning of building the first location? Also, was he already thinking about continuing to build his business before dropping out of medical school? Or was it, well, now I'm here, situation I better improvise? Simply put, was there ever a point where he was thinking smaller in business? So we'll start with that, and then there's kind of a follow-up.
Good question. I have to say yes, because I do remember recalling thinking like if I could make $1 million business, like I could live the life, and being like I would stop there. That was the finish line. What I was unaware of is that like the game is what I love, and so it was kind of similar like when I was in medical school stuff and like learning, microbiology and all the rest of it. Like the game was I wanted to win, like I wanted to beat everybody, and it wasn't a matter of like, do I need this grade? Like there's times like I knew my average was 95, 96. So I was like, I want to ace this test. I'm going to stay up all night.
Yeah.
So it's the game, it's the hunt. And I think in terms of size, I knew after I got hurt and I saw like the impact to my business of being out of operations and like how I needed systems, and then seeing landscape business course, and then like being like, okay, this is not working, because I wanted to help people like do what I had done with the business to make it profitable. This is not working. The only way to people listen in this industry is if you go compete with them.
Yeah.
So like, okay, great, I'll make 1,000 of these locations and go compete with them, and then people might listen. So that is the current pursuit.
Okay. So the follow-up question, I think this one you can go a little more off the cuff with. It doesn't just have to be a yes or no. Did life just guide you to building an empire, or was it intentional from the beginning?
Did life guide me? I don't know. That's a much more philosophical question.
Yeah.
I would say you could fight either word. Like it's a philosophical question, because like I would say yes, like me getting hurt caused me to be like, my business is not built correctly, and turn to systems and procedures, which then caused me to care about other people that I saw failing also, and was like, oh, I could just share how I learned this, and then realizing like that was not working, that method was not going to work in the long term if I wanted to change the industry. But like I've always wanted to be the best. And to this day, it's now more a matter of like, I want to be the best version of myself. So like I am willing to put in the time, spend money on coaching, like travel, talk to people, do whatever is required for me to be the best human. And that, whether it be in business, personal life, relationships, physical health, like I want to be the best. And so that will probably hurt me in some areas in life because like I always want to be the best, and like there's anything less than first is like an absolute like blow to me. So and so I don't think it'll end or change or like that kind of game, I guess.
Yeah. So would you say that life didn't necessarily guide you to build an empire, but the realization of kind of this like never-ending game and the fun you can have while doing it, but also help other people is what led you down this path?
I don't know.
It
comes down to your belief system.
Totally.
Like if you believe that God has a plan and everything,
right.
and He works everything out for the good, then yes. And I would say that's where I would stand on that. Like I believe that like me going to Africa was super important because I'd probably otherwise be in the medical system right now, and I would probably honestly figure out a way to win that game. Like I would.
Yeah.
And I'd probably be very happy. But comparatively to what I have now, and not just material, but like how much I enjoy and like how much like fulfillment I get now, I don't think it could compare. And so yeah, I think like there's definitely a plan and a purpose in that. But then other people, they don't believe in that, so like that's up to them.
Yeah, it's kind of like when athletes get towards the end of their productive careers. Like they'd be a great athlete for a long time, making millions, huge contracts, and then they get towards the end and they aren't producing as much. So then they have the choice, like, do I fight for a better contract or do I like stay on a winning team to keep playing the game that I love? And then you get all these online debates about, well, like he's not producing as much, like, but he just wants the money. He's selfish. Like he knows he's not worth it. And then you get the guys that are like, no, I'll take a salary cut to stay on this championship team because I just love the game. And I love the guys and I love the journey. And I think a lot of people are drawn to that latter athlete that's like, yeah, take the pay cut and just like be on the team you love, help the guys around you, and like do it for the love of the game. I respect athletes that do that. I think that's really cool. But then like the flip side, it's like they have a family to take care about. They have their future. Like they make millions for 5-10 years, some guys a lot less, and then they have to live off that the rest of their life. So it's a tough spot.
Yeah.
It's a tough
I just
spot.
want to win. I would, if I was a professional athlete, the problem with that analogy to some extent is the amount of money is copious regardless when it comes to like big contracts. It's like, do you want 40 million or do you want 50 million?
Right.
Wow, this is tough, right? So it's not really a great analogy.
Yeah.
However, I would always want to be on a winning team. I would hate to play sports and I would hate to play business in a game that's not, we're not winning. And so anytime I see areas of the business we are not winning, it makes me very, very mad. So I would not want to be on a losing team.
This is a tangent, but you know I'm a big sports guy. I try to follow it as much as I can. Are you a salary cap guy? Like, do you think teams should have a salary cap? Like everyone plays by the same set of rules, i.e. ownership can't spend over X? Or do you like games where ownership can spend whatever they want?
It just depends. It depends. Like if it depends if I'm the commissioner of the league. It depends if I'm an owner of a team, and it depends if I'm a fan. If you're a fan, you just want people to spend it up, baby. Like let's make this an open market. I think in the spirit of the game, in this regard, you do need to fix the rules a little bit because otherwise you would have dynasties that are like 2 or 3 teams that actually have a chance, and then you'd have everyone else. And so it wouldn't be as competitive, and they would actually hurt the league. So the league has to do this in order to make sure that every primetime game is primetime. And there's not like only 2 or 3 teams you want to watch because they have the biggest salary. You know.
That's why like the NFL has like a hard salary cap, right? They can't spend over X, but baseball is much more fluid. And as a long-suffering Mariners fan, we look at the I'm on a tangent now, but you look at the Mariners profit and loss statement. We're the most profitable franchise over the last like 3 or 4 years because we don't spend money, and it's annoying. Like go out and buy some players. Like yes, we have guys that for the love of the game want to play, but like you got to spend money if you want to win championships. So that's a tangent. I'm just salty. I'm salty about the Mariners right now.
I would, dude. One day I would love to own the Mariners.
Like, dude.
It wouldn't. It's not like a life ambition, but like if I ever had so much money and they came available, like
Like Gary Vee and the Jets.
No. He has like a profound way of like thinking about the Jets, and it means something to him. It does not mean much to me. Yeah. But if I were like 70 and I had tons of money, I would love to do it, and I would just be like, I just want a Super Bowl. I just want a World Series. Yeah. I don't care anything about the money, and I just go all in on it. Yeah. Because like T-Mobile Park and like Mariners, they do a great job of like entertaining people, and like Phenomenal. They do a great job. That's why they're probably so profitable.
Yes.
But there's nothing that beats when they're doing well and that whole place is packed out. Like the Seattle crowd's awesome.
Yeah.
So and I've just like that's the sport I was raised on, and like we always like professional sports was the Mariners. That was it.
Yeah.
We listened to every single game. It would just be fun. Yeah. But like it's definitely not like a calling, and like I will be just fine in my life if I don't have them. But if I ever have billions of dollars down the road and I'm like old. Yeah. Oh, dude, that'd be such a fun project.
What about, because we're on the tangent now, what about like lower level teams? Like, I'm sure you've heard about
this.
Ryan Reynolds and
Savannah Bananas.
No. I'm thinking of Ryan Reynolds, and there's another famous actor. They bought a lower level soccer club, Wrexham FC. And now they have like a Netflix series on them. Oh, really? And like they have this huge social media following because it's like celebrities that bought a lower level team.
Dude Perfect just bought a team too.
Yeah. And Barstool, they've bought a couple, they're very invested in the lacrosse league that's like emerging in the U.S. And like, have you ever thought about that? Like lower level teams?
I would probably only do is baseball just because it has like some nostalgia and it's like super family friendly too. Yeah. I like that. I would buy the
Bellingham Bells.
Bellingham Bells. Nice, dude. I would buy them because like it's local. It'd just be like, everyone.
It's just summer ball.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's so fun and it's like so wholesome for the family and just make it super fun.
I love it.
I would love to buy them.
Yeah.
Like that is probably like a 20-year, we could knock that out.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And just like, it's not about the money at that point. Just like, it's a Bellingham staple. I want to keep it. I want to make it really good. And then like pour the marketing on to like make the games really amazing. And like, I would enjoy that.
Yeah.
It'd be a project like for fun though.
Totally.
Like that's not the most profitable use of my time.
No. It's definitely not. Well, yeah, the Bells is like, now we're getting into I don't need to go down that road, but it's summer ball. It's not even like technically an affiliate of like the MLB.
It's technically what, AA?
Well, no. So it's technically for like college guys. It's just a summer ball league for like higher up college guys or guys that haven't made it into the minors to just keep playing throughout the summer.
So I'd probably try to get upgraded and be in the farm system.
Yeah.
I'd try to get into AAA. That'd be fun.
Yes, dude. AA, AAA ball. It's the best. So anyways, that was a tangent. But dude, if you ever want to go to a lower level club, like that's like a dream of mine. That'd be so fun.
You could be the manager.
Yeah, dude. I would love that. Or like president of operations.
I'd bring Ben Silva back.
Yes, dude. Shout out Ben Silva. Yeah, he's great. Dude, yeah, like lower level sports, I just think it's now like a fun thing that like celebrities are doing or like organizations are just like, this is a cool way to get our brand out there, but also do something we enjoy. So, all right, back to the questions here. No, you're good. I love it. This is a little bit more tactical of a question. You've answered it before on the YouTube, but I told people to submit their questions. We'll answer them. Okay. So when and how did you hire your first production manager? That's the verbiage they used. Explain what their role was and what their pay would be. So
really, like Liz was my admin person,
right?
So production in my mind is like more operations, but she became that. Like she was kind of like I mentioned this in the Simply Lawn Care turnaround. Like the most efficient setup for an $800,000 business is like maxing 2 people out, and that is have one person doing admins and ops, and then one person doing sales. That's like the most efficient manner. Sometimes you'll have like a founder that does sales, they're doing the estimates of the day, and they're doing operations. And then you have someone in the office is crushing on admin. So Liz and I would say like she was great at admin. I kind of handled sales and ops while I was still there.
Right.
At like 800,000, 900,000. And I was like, you could have stayed there and make it really profitable. But she would be like my first admin person. I would say like now, like really until we had the general manager role, like when you showed up as GM, that would probably be the first like quote unquote production manager.
Yeah. Do you want to answer the second part, like the roles and pay? I'm comfortable with it, but
I think the biggest thing is like it just depends on their responsibility. The more responsibility they have for driving bottom line revenue, I would be tying more and more into incentives around profit sharing
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, and I can say, because we share this fairly publicly, like general managers at Augusta typically make between like 50 to 65K is kind of like the guarantee, depending on the size of the location, the scope of the work, what is expected of them, and then there are incentives around profitability, efficiency, things of that nature.
Yeah, like if a GM at Augusta for my locations, I do 35% distributions of profits to the GMs. If they start one from scratch. If they start one that's already existing, that would be lower, like 20, 25%, et cetera. But 35% gets really interesting if you want to grow one location, stay around for a while. So it really incentivizes people sticking around, because 35% of, let's just call it $200,000, $300,000 in distributions, that on top of a salary plus like benefits and things, like you're looking at like $150,000 to $200,000. You can get there. It might take you 6-7 years, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of built the GM and the regional managers compensation in a way, like if you stick around, it gets better and better and better. And then we now add the starter role, which again allows someone to like start a location, get it above $20,000 a month, hand it off, and then get residuals of that location in perpetuity. Sweet. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It just you got to match the compensation to the team member though. Some people don't care about profit sharing. Other people only want their base. Like they just want a higher base because they're more security driven. And so you're more entrepreneurial, and so you enjoy like commissions, pieces of the pie, and you see the value in that long term. Some people don't.
Yeah.
They just don't. So.
Yeah, that's fair. That kind of leads into this next question. Someone else commented, the org chart for Mike's corporate locations, specifically the new ones in North Carolina. You kind of touched on it, maybe go a little deeper. Trying to run around $500,000 annual revenue. What would each position in that org chart be responsible for? How do you systematize that?
Yeah, like right now it's relatively flat because we only have the 7 locations.
Right.
This will probably change in the future. So like right now, Chuck is the regional manager. I would be considered just like a shareholder, but he's the regional manager, kind of the top of the org. Then you have general managers underneath him. As time goes on, he would basically become more of the national manager. You have regional managers, and you have general managers of the individual locations. So that would probably end up what becomes. Like, I do believe, like, and I've said this before, like, I have an inclination that I will end up owning 500 locations, and that the rest of them would be owned by franchisees. The problem is twofold. One, the best returns come from my location because I enforce the systems religiously. And then secondly is there's only so many people that want to buy franchises. So I could wait 20 years and just do it to 1,000 that way. But I think I can do it in 10 if I start doing my own locations and then just running them that way. And then we could figure out some way of like handing them off to general managers or selling them to people to run them as locations. But like, I just would rather go faster. And so that will end up happening. Chuck will probably be at the top of it with regionals underneath it with locations. But it all hinges on them doing well. Because as you add that structure above a GM, that all costs overhead. And so the locations have to remain above 20% profitable for that to happen.
Right. Yeah. Great. Now this one is, it's not a question, it's a directive.
Okay.
They're telling us what to do.
Telling us what to do.
Discuss why Augusta stays out of chemicals.
We don't necessarily say that we shouldn't.
I think maybe they're implying like the corporate locations, your locations specifically. I can't speak to the North Carolinas, but I know we stay fairly out of treatments for that.
Yeah. Like there's no right and wrong. Like I think there's actually really good money in chemicals and like pest control and grub control and spraying lawns and houses. I think the thing is, like, it's very scalable. It's very high profit margins, etc. In part, it is the fact that I'm not as passionate about changing that part of the industry as much as lawn care and landscaping, because I feel like there's more demand for professionalism in terms of like a need and a lack. And it's where I started. It's also easier to get like registration and licensing. In every state, you can get a mower, you can get a weed whacker, you can get a blower, and you can start mowing grass with a business license. In most states, there's all varying degrees of licensing for chemicals and applicators licenses and tests and all the other stuff. So it'd be a lot more difficult for us at the corporate level, which we would then in turn not be able to afford the current structure that we have. Because we have simple services. We are able to have simple coaching, simple systems, simple procedures. We don't have to do different things for every single state. I'm not going to be held liable for like chemical imbalances as a franchisor, so I don't have to like raise the cost of the franchise for the sake of legalities and like extra all that protection. So there's a lot of stuff like that. It's just like you make good money, yes, but look at those franchises that do that. They are charging pretty high premiums of royalties and marketing spend and all the rest of it. And so I think it's a better deal for the owners of Augusta Nation if I don't get involved in that, because then they almost would have to use it in order to actually get the value of their cost.
That makes sense.
Their franchise. And so I've just been more like, hey, if you want to do it, great. We have the website you can add to. You can use all these templates and all the rest of it. All the marketing is there, but it's not like I'm going to push it on my businesses, because like it's harder to find a GM then. It's if I need all these boxes checked, I won't get a GM for 50 to 60 grand as base salary. They'll need 80 or 90 because they have 10 years of experience and they have a chemical applicator's license and they have management and all this other stuff. I'm not super passionate about taking those people as much as the person that is like just a hard, crazy good worker and has the ability like just want to work on themselves and make themselves a better human being. I'm really passionate about like promoting that person, giving them a shot, and that's going to be harder in a more chemical-based environment where there's a lot more legalities involved.
Yeah,
and I'm not against it. Like you can make so much money, and I before starting the lawn care side, like Augusta Lawn Care, like Augusta Lawn Care could have gone more the way of like Spring Green, True Green, etc. I just wasn't as passionate about changing that industry, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. And I would say to this person's question that probably 30 to 40% of all of Augusta does do treatments, machine-based spray, spreaders. So it's completely allowed inside Augusta. I want to make sure that's clear.
I think it's actually going to become more once we start working on the upsell features inside of the website. Yeah. Because it's such an easy add-on.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple minutes left. Not sure if you want to dive into this.
Okay, go for it.
Your call. Should we cut it?
Go ahead.
Let's
go fast.
Let's see how quick you can go over this.
Look at graphs.
All right. So I wanna check this out. So this is the from CNBC chart of the day. So they have an account where they post different charts, graphs of certain financials. This was on credit card balances in the U.S. They just passed 1 trillion, so historic highs. And then in that second image there, and I can post these on the screen for everyone, then they said what the average interest rate of U.S. credit cards from commercial banks is, and the graph goes way up all of a sudden.
Interest rates have gone up.
And then they go over delinquency rates on credit card loans in the U.S. So I know you're seeing these charts for the first time, but I didn't know if you had any overall thoughts on this. Obviously, you and I both listen to the All In podcast. They feel like the recession is here, and maybe Q1, Q2 of next year, they're going to see a lot of shakeups in their industry, specifically startups and tech. A lot of tech companies are going out. I know this doesn't specifically relate, but just kind of looking at general economics, what are your thoughts on these charts?
I wish I could go back further, because what I'm trying to look for is a correlation between delinquencies and credit card balances. I think what we are inferring is that as credit card balances go up, that defaults will go up. That is an assumption that I can't say from these graphs. I believe 100%. The reason for that is because I would be led to believe that by having higher balances, way far in excess of what we had in 2007, 2008. Okay, this is it. This is it.
All right.
This is the problem with these charts. Yes, this is the problem with these charts. 100%. So this is CNBC at its finest. Okay, I can poke holes in this all day long.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this very first chart, the problem is it doesn't show back to 2005, 2006, 2007.
Right.
When these credit card balances, I don't know, were they higher? I would assume they were. But you're saying this is the first time ever we've gone above $1 trillion.
That's what they said, yes.
Can you look it up real quick? Let's look at credit card balances. Credit card balance totals. And let's do 2007. So peaked around 900 billion. So we're close to that figure. So but again, like inflation, cost of living has gone up, wages have gone up.
Right.
I would say I just have a hard time believing. I know they're hiding data. There's no doubt in my mind, because that first chart doesn't show before 2019. And the reason I say that is because if you look at delinquencies, when it does actually show the math, we're nowhere close to the recession levels of 2007, 2008 in terms of delinquency rates. And delinquency rates is what drives a recession. Now, what has to be, you'd have to have more information to determine whether or not the total credit card limits or amounts actually correlate with delinquency rates.
Right. I get what you're saying.
That is important. And if that is true, then yes, it would be very evident that a recession is on the way if the precursor to delinquency rates are higher balances in credit cards. But based upon those graphs, I think that's inconclusive. I think this is headline grabber, and that is like highest it's been in years, blah blah. And it's like, well, give me graph back to 2006, 2007. So that would be my only thing.
Yeah. And it's also to note, it is from Q2 data of this year. I think it'd be very interesting to look at these graphs once they have Q3 and Q4 data. I think that then you will either see that correlation or not. I think you need a couple more quarters to find out.
Yeah.
So
Gotta love them.
I thought they were interesting graphs. It got me. It was clickbait. I was like, oh, that's an interesting title.
Yeah, you always got to look at graphs, X and Y axes, and see if they match. If they don't, it's almost always they're hiding something. So they are, I guarantee you, hiding the fact that those loan amounts, as we just determined, have been this high before. And this is not like anything crazy new. The question has to become, is it a 6 or 12-month lagger of credit card debt amounts to delinquency rates? I would assume that is a true factual statement. I can't, based upon this, come to that conclusion.
So what is the goal of sharing these? Clickbait? More web traffic?
Well, it's CNBC.
Fearmonger?
No, it's valuable. It's very cool. Like, obviously, it's on the rise.
Yeah.
Interest rates are on the rise. Delinquency rates are on the rise. That's important data. But the fact to say that, like, we're literally a third of the amount of delinquency compared to 2007, 2008.
Right.
So, and is it higher than pre-COVID conditions? Yes, we just passed it. Right, in terms of delinquency rates. So that's where I'm just like, yes, they are fear-mongering, and that's what gets clicks. And 1,676 people liked this post, so those suckers, they bought into the logic.
I didn't like it. I just screenshot it. Well, yeah, thanks for giving us your thoughts on it. I thought, like I said, I just thought they were interesting graphs. I figured you'd have some thoughts on it. And
it's important data. It's good. It's obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know people are going into credit card debt and we're going to a tough time economically. So it's good to know this sort of thing. But CNBC always like, I want to see the whole graph.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get you. Well, do you want any non-financial advice? 1 second.
Dude,
do you
I
have
totally forgot. Go ahead.
Mine's a quote. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I sent it to a couple people.
Okay, my non-financial advice.
Yeah.
Sign up for the webinar. You get to see your beautiful face on Saturday.
Yeah.
MikeAndes.com/webinar if you're thinking about joining Augusta. Yeah. We do this like once a year. And I'll do live Q&A. I'm actually going to do a presentation on why you should not join Augusta and why you should. And then we'll do Q&A. Cool. So if you're interested, join on this Saturday. This coming Saturday, November 11th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Right after the Cutting Edge Conference, which starts at 7 a.m.
Be there.
Go ahead.
All right. My non-financial advice is just a quote. It's a nugget.
Go.
Humans who are convinced of the righteousness of their cause have a tremendous ability to justify any sort of tactical implications. Yeah. David Sachs. Just a phenomenal quote.
Oh, dude, he's good.
Yeah. That's what I got. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
Like and subscribe.
Peace.